Hi everyone, and welcome to this joint TAUS and Crowdin webinar. We're really happy to have you here with us today. And in this session, we are gonna show you how TAUS automated quality estimation and automated post-editing can be used with the Crowdin platform with no additional integrations or setup required on your side. But before we go to the thick of the webinar, let's meet today's speakers. We have with us Yurik, CTO at Inland Languages, and tonight representing Crowdin. And then Amir, Solution Architect at TAUS, and me, Simona, responsible of TAUS go-to-market strategy. We'd also love to learn a bit more about you in the audience. So to do this, we have a little poll that you should see on your screen. If you could take a moment to fill it in, then we can have a better picture of how the crowd there in the dark is distributed, and we'll share the results in a little bit. And in case of any questions, you can just submit them at any time using the Q&A panel in Zoom. Oops, too quick. So yeah, this is the cue that the microphone can go to Yurik, who will introduce Crowdin and the platform that we'll see in action in just a moment. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Simona. Thank you, Crowdin, for sending me, and thank you, TAUS, for having me. Yes, let's talk a little bit about Crowdin. I would describe Crowdin as a best-in-class TMS for modern enterprise localization. It offers premium support for the most common content streams in enterprises, which goes from all kinds of digital content, software, website, e-commerce, to marketing collateral, technical documentation, and so on and so forth. But I think what really sets Crowdin apart is the fact that it has this very high marketplace dimension to it. It has a store, a Crowdin store with more than 700 integrations, the biggest connector box on the market, CMS connectors, PIM, PLM, AI models, all kinds of apps and utilities to enhance the system. And I'm also pretty proud of the AI infrastructure in Crowdin. It's super comprehensive. It enables access to basically every commercial LLM out there, from OpenAI to Anthropic to Mistral, DeepSeek, Grok, and so on and so forth. Users can write their own prompts. Users can leverage their preferred context types, from translation memory to glossaries to even visual context screenshots. And on top of that, all of the AI magic can be unleashed in basically every workflow step, from pre-translation to linguist assistance to QA to proofreading, and now also for quality estimation purposes. Over to you, Simona.
From Yurik. Can you hear me well? Okay, good. So I guess I can then move on with a little overview of TAUS. Probably many of you know TAUS for a while. We started back in 2004 as a think tank for the translation industry. But since then, a lot has happened. And today, TAUS has evolved into a data-driven language solutions provider, leveraging still our expertise in language data, AI, and language technology that we learned over the years. In today's webinar, we'll focus on TAUS Epic, which is our combined solution for automated quality estimation and automated post-editing. And what is EPIC? Well, in a nutshell, we developed a quality estimation model that evaluates content at segment level. And it generates a quality confidence score that helps identify which segments may require attention. The quality acceptance threshold is fully customizable, so it can be set depending on different quality requirements. And depending on the use case, QE can be combined with automated post-editing, so that segments falling below the quality threshold can be automatically improved by our APE step. And if APE is used, then you see the last step of the circle. The post-edited segments are re-evaluated by the QE model and only returned if the score improved compared to the initial one. So this whole flow allows to route content more efficiently and to focus human effort where it really matters. And this enables proactive management of quality risks also at scale. Well, just then one more minute before we jump into the core of the webinar to just have a look at the results from the poll, so we know a bit better who's in the audience today. I see a lot of participants from LSP and enterprise, and a bunch from other. Interesting. It would be interesting to know what this other is. Most of you using TMS, which was expected. Good to see that there's also few of you already are familiar with the quality estimation, but a lot not. So it's good to get you more informed during this webinar, and also to improve then the exposure to our EPIC quality estimation offer. I see that there's the majority not yet using it. And also for the Crowdin platform, I see a bit more of a split. Well, thanks for sharing this information. It's always nice to know, to have these insights on our audience. So yeah, now I'll first hand things over to Amir to show you the way EPIC is used outside of Crowdin, and then back to Yurik, who is going to show then how it works within the Crowdin platform.
Thanks, Simona. Let me also share my screen. Okay, so as Simona was showing this broader picture of how the QE and APE works in general, but let me zoom a little bit out to give you, let's say, one use case that is the most useful one, or that is the most used one, which is to reduce the cost of post-editing. So in most of the workflows, the main idea is that translations are coming from machine translations or maybe some other source, TM or human translation. But especially when it's coming from machine translation, the confidence is low because a machine can make mistake. And what we have noticed is that even when the quality of MT is good, there is always a human involved, which is actually checking everything that is coming out of MT. But over the years, in the recent past, we have seen that the quality of MT is improved a lot for many of the languages. And if you analyze your own data, you can see that a lot of the times these post editors or human reviewers are saying that the quality is already good. And this is not happening few occasionally. It is happening 50% or more times. So they are only editing only the 50% of the content, and rest of the content is just passed through. but still you are paying the human editors and reviewers for that content. So what quality estimation, the main role of the quality estimation is to provide you signals, decision-making signals that can give you the ability to decide what should go to human and what can go directly to production. And this is very nice because you don't need any reference translation. You can just base your decision on the source and what is coming out of the MT engine. And based on the two, you can decide whether this is a good translation or something is not good and you have to do some review or some editing, and then you can send it to a human post editor. So just by using quality estimation and the signal that is produced, you can already save up to 50% of the cost. On top of that, um, when we know that there is a problem, we can now use these newer tools and broader AI like large language models to rewrite the translations. So if we identify that, okay, the score is not good, there is some mistakes, let's see whether we can rewrite this to improve the quality of the translation and fix the problems. And this is where automatic post editing comes. So the way we have designed it is that everything is running through an API, and we tried to make the API as simple as possible, but still, of course, if you are using your own tools and there is no integration available, you have to do some implementation for yourself. And then you have to understand how the API works and how different inputs you have to send and what we are sending from the API as an output, and you have to parse that. So the API is very simple, that there is mainly one endpoint that is doing the estimation. And if you want to use automatic post editing, you just send an extra parameter that above this threshold, everything is good. If anything is below this threshold, then call the LLM and see what it is producing. If the outcome of the LLM is good enough, then we can send it back to you. If it is not better than what already was there, then we can discard that. This is how we are operating it. So what I'm going to now give you just a small demonstration that if there is no integration available and if you are using your own tools, what kind of uh, like coding you have to do or what kind of things you have to understand. So the first thing you have to understand is what is this API, how it works. So we have this developer page. If you go there, you can read all about the different endpoints. You can read all about the inputs and outputs. So for example, as I mentioned that there is an estimate endpoint. You can go there and see what inputs it requires and what it can produce. Here I am going to just demonstrate in a very simple way, in a very simple UI, which I just created as a demo purpose. So let's say if I have this interface where I can just choose a file. This is English and German file where English is the source and German is the translated content. And I'm saying that anything above 0.9 is good. So let's see what happens. So now it's actually calling the TAUS API and trying to get the scores back. And you can see already the scores are coming back. As we mentioned, the QE score, if the QE score is below the given threshold, it tries to call the automatic post editing. And then we can see what automatic post editing is doing. And this is the updated score. So well and good. But even just to achieve this, you have to actually write a lot of code to interface with the API. And not only that, but you have to maintain this code. You have to keep checking if we are releasing new versions, if we are changing the API, if anything is updating. So you have to not only write the code, you have to also maintain it. So although the API is very simple, but even for simple APIs, there is overhead of doing your own code, your own maintenance and all that. So that's why it's very important to have these management tools where we are already working with our partners to do the integrations, where this overhead is reduced and everything is taken care by the platform and the integrator. So this is the general overview of the API, how it works. But now I will pass back to Yorick to show you how we can actually use this in Crowdin how the quality scores can be used, how decisions can be made, how the updated translations can be then utilized. Over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Amir. Let me take over the screen. Quick confirmation that you can see the screen properly. All good. Thank you very much. All right, so yeah, happy to talk you through it. The starting point, I already touched upon it, is the Crowdin store. I encourage everybody to go to store.crowdin.com and have a look. I'm confident that everybody will find something useful in there. And again, the purpose of this marketplace is to give users the building blocks they need to build and design the processes for their content types and build the associated automations and integrations. And the Crowdin store is also where we will find the TAUS QE and APE integration. Installing it is a matter of like 2 or 3 mouse clicks. You install the application, you define which users can make use of the application. You don't want everybody in your system to have access to everything. That's not always the safest bet. So it's better to control that. And after the installation, you're actually good to go. I also mentioned something about the AI infrastructure, and I want to add one more thing to that. We can deploy our AI models as genuine agents, for example, a proofreading agent. And this is also important for our TAUS integration because it's not really an integration, it's more of an agent. It operates as an agent in the system, and you will see that in a second. Now, the beating heart of the TAUS integration in Crowdin is a workflow template. What is a workflow template? A workflow template is basically a process that gets triggered whenever Crowdin identifies new or updated content in a project. And it doesn't matter where that content comes from. It can be a file, it can be an integration, it can be an API, it can be whatever. Now, the nice thing is that we can build very granular and very tailored and targeted workflows for our very specific content types. And I will very, very quickly design one like in 1 or 2 minutes. And then when we go to an actual project, I will talk a little bit more about configuring the TAUS integration. But for now, imagine that new content is identified in a project, the process starts, the process is triggered. The first step that a lot of people will want to execute is a pre-translation using the translation memory. That's typically the first step in a localization workflow. Now imagine that we're not entirely sure of the hygiene of our TM. Maybe it got polluted over the years. We might, for example, want to run quality estimation on the TM records using our TAUS integration. So we can, for example, say whenever a string gets pre-translated using the translation memory, we still want to run a quality estimation check on it, right? Depending on the results of the quality estimation, we can, for example, send it automatically to proofreading. If TAUS estimates that a certain string is not good enough, needs review, we can send it to proofreading. If TAUS estimates that the quality is good enough, acceptable, we can automatically end the workflow for that specific string. After a string gets proofread, we can also end the workflow for that specific string. Now imagine that, and this will happen, other strings don't get pre-translated using the translation memory. We can, for example, pre-translate them using an AI model, an LLM, for example. So whenever a string doesn't get pre-translated, we will send it automatically to an AI pre-translation. This is where we can call TAUS again. We have another TAUS step in our portfolio here. the TAUS APE step. And TAUS APE will first run quality estimation and will then try to automatically post-edit a string if the quality is not good enough. So we can say we run the AI pre-translation and we send the automated or the automatically translated strings automatically to TAUS APE. Then we can say whenever a string doesn't get post-edited, we want to send it to our proofreader. Our proofreader needs to look at it. Our proofreader needs to do something with it, perhaps. What we can also do is, whenever a string gets post-edited by TAUS, we can still send it to our proofreader for human sign-off. And in this case, TAUS will have operated as the first line assistant of the human linguist, trying to give him the best possible output for a given string. Let's maybe quickly finish the workflow. Imagine that the string doesn't get pre-translated with AI because of an API failure, for example. We can send it automatically to our human translator like this. And human translation is, of course, supposed to be good. And after this human translation step, we can automatically finish the workflow. This is a very quick and dirty workflow, but you see how granular you can go, where you can call TAUS, and it's not limited to machine translation. You can also run it on your translation memory records and even on your human translations. That being said, I'm going to have a look at an actual project. Going to my workspace, I have a sandbox project where I can show some TAUS results. As I mentioned, our AI infrastructure can be leveraged as actual agents, AI agents. So when I go to integrations, you will not see TAUS in here. I have an integration with the content management system. However, if I go to my project members, you will see that the TAUS QE and APE agent is a full-fledged member in the project. It's an agent, and I don't want to over-romanticize the term agent here, but a very important characteristic of an agent is that it has the autonomy to take certain decisions and execute them accordingly. And that is what TAUS does in our workflows. So I have maybe a more realistic workflow here. Let's have a quick look at it, maybe. So in this case, our process starts whenever we find new or updated content. We automatically pre-translate everything with the TM. And if we have a record, we automatically end the workflow for those records. Everything else will get pre-translated using AI. In this case, I have written a prompt with Claude, and Claude will take care of the pre-translation of the remaining strings. On the right, I have a fallback mechanism here. If Claude fails for some reason, API failure, we fall back to modern MT. And if modern MT fails, we automatically send the string to a human translator, which is very unlikely to happen, of course. More importantly, everything that gets pre-translated using AI will be automatically sent to our TAUS QE agent. And this is the configuration, it's loading of the TAUS integration. Only a couple of options, very user-friendly. First of all, we can select the server. If you embark on using TAUS Epic, you will have both the production and a sandbox server. You insert your API key, you insert your quality threshold, typically 0.8, but for high traffic content on your website, for example, you would want to go for 0.9. For low traffic content, 0.7 might be good enough. And finally, whenever TAUS estimates the quality to be good enough, we want the TAUS integration to automatically approve those good translations for us. Those good translations will automatically be ended. The workflow for them will end automatically. For strings where TAUS thinks that the quality is not good enough, we will still send those to proofreading, and after proofreading, the workflow will end. So this is, let's say, a more realistic scenario. But again, you can build this in accordance with your own needs and your own wishes, content types, requirements, and so on and so forth. Now, yesterday or the day before, I uploaded a couple of strings to this project, a couple of strings from an Android application, a sample in XML format. The workflow got triggered, and this is what TAUS did with it. We had 17 strings in this file, 45 words. Those 45 words got pre-translated, obviously, and TAUS automatically approved 42 words out of those 45 words for us. So for this specific content type, for this specific project, TAUS reduced the workload, the human workload, from 100% to 7%. And this is how you could integrate TAUS and give it certain autonomy in your projects. But again, it always depends on the requirements, the content type, and a couple of other parameters. If I go to the active workflow step, which is proofreading, you will see that the actual effort for proofreading is reduced to 2 strings, 3 words. And it's probably not a coincidence that the quality estimation failed for shorter strings, which is typically difficult for quality estimation models to handle. But still, this is pretty decent, I would say. I can also always have a look at what happened in the TAUS QE step. And now everything will be displayed. The strings that still need to be proofread, as well as the ones that were automatically approved by TAUS. I can filter on those that were automatically approved by TAUS, approved by TAUS QE agent. I can have a look at what TAUS did with them. I can double check if everything went well or not. I can always check the history of a string. We got a translation. It was automatically approved by TAUS QE and APE agent. And the last thing that I want to show about the actual integration is the project activity. Here we go. So every single action that happens in a project is logged and can be consulted in the activity option in a Crowdin project. In this case, you will see that my agent already approved 240 translations for me in the entire project, not only in this one file. Then I would like to add to this that our TAUS integration is pretty fresh. It's a dynamic one. We are working on it as we speak, and it will be expanded with more features, more functionalities. For example, a way to report on the quality estimate scores that TAUS produced in our projects. And one more thing, at Crowdin, we recently released a very nice vibe coding feature, meaning that you can call an LLM and ask it to build an integration for you within the system. You could perfectly call the vibe coding feature and ask it, for example, to write reports, generate reports based on the quality estimation scores produced by TAUS. And then you can actually work with that data to improve your QE models, which would then be the responsibility of Amir again. That being said, I think I covered most of it. And then Amir, Simona, I give the floor back to you.
Yes, thanks a lot, Yurik. It was great to see all of this live. There's a few questions that came in already, so I guess it's the perfect time then to start going through them.
Yeah, I think so because Yurik mentioned that this is a fresh integration and things are still developing. What I want to also share what is coming next from TAUS and that you will going to see also in the Crowdin platform soon. So let me just quickly reshare my screen. And I think this will going to also answer a few of the
questions, yes.
So we are also actually it's already now available, the batch processing mode where you can upload a whole file and then whole file will be processed at once. Because currently the API, previously the API was a sentence by sentence. So now you can actually call the whole file. At the moment, we are still not using the full context of the file. We are still processing it segment by segment based on the segments in the file. So if it's TSV, every line is a new segment, and we are still processing it like that. But this enables us to actually go to the next step where we can use broader context from previous sentences or the whole document. So that's a possibility. But at the moment, especially our quality estimation models. We want to make it faster. That's why they are rather smaller or medium-sized models compared to large language models. So the context is still relatively small. We also added few things that some of our users were reported, like in the past, because the models that we are using are language agnostic. So if you are sending, let's say, English to German, and on the German side, there is a very perfect translation of the English in Spanish, it might give you a high score. So what we added now is to identify the language, and then we match the language based on the language that you have provided us through the API call. And that will reflect on the scoring as well. So now it makes sure that if you are saying something is English German, then the English side is English and the German side is German, and the scores will reflect that. Another feature that we added is the rack support in automatic post editing. So now basically you can upload your translation memories or your terminologies, and then when we do the automatic post editing, it can based on the context, it can bring all the relevant material and do the prompt engineering to reflect that on the APE results as well. And this really can improve the automatic post editing results a lot. And this is something that you can also see in Crowdin soon, that in the project, if you have translation memories or terminologies, you can directly then upload it to TAUS platform, and then when we use the APE and QE, that will automatically utilize those resources. Also, another aspect of our Epic platform is that there is a lot of possibility of customization. So when you use the out-of-the-box model, it is a generic model that is trained on our data, and we fine-tune it for only few domains. But when you are using it for your own style, your own very niche domains, then it is always a good idea to do customization. And behind the scene, we have really implemented a robust, fast customization process, which can really reduce the time of customization to 2 weeks, 3 weeks time, in which we can actually produce a high quality customized model. And the good thing is that you don't have to really change anything when there is a custom model available. If we are fine-tuning a model for a particular language pair for you, then whenever you will be sending that language pair, automatically that model will be used. So you don't even have to change any configuration. It will automatically be used. If you don't want to use the specialized model, you can always fall back to the generic model by specifying that in the API or through the integration. So these are some of the updates. I think that also answers a few of the queries.
Yes, thanks, Amir. Indeed, there were some questions about whether there was segment-only processing or with more context, or, for example, about the possibility to include style guides and glossaries. So that's indeed mentioned. It's features that are just released. There are some questions more specific to, I think, the setup within Crowdin. So, for example, there's a question about whether each language needs to be configured individually in the workflow builder. Yurik, that's probably for you.
Yeah, so the answer is no. You do not have to configure each language individually. You can configure the workflow templates for all of your target languages or your main target languages. You can fine-tune them in specific projects because a template is a template and you can change it in a project. And within a workflow template, you can also have different steps or different conditions for different target languages. If French needs to go to proofreading, fine. But if you have like lower or less critical languages, Latvian, Estonian, whatever, and you want to skip the proofreading step for them, you can implement it as such within the workflow.
Yeah, thanks. And now I see coming up also more, maybe more QE specific questions. For example, if QE always needs to run on source and target pairs, or it could also just run on source text with guidelines. I'm not sure about that part, but
Yeah, actually, this is a very common feature that many of our clients usually ask, can we do the quality estimation of the source content only? And this is actually rather difficult task, because then you need to understand why the source is generated, where it's coming from, what was the intention of the source. Because when you are doing translation, it's very simple. You assume that the source is correct, and you assume that the translation should follow that. Even if there is a mistake in the source, you just try to make sure that the translation is truthful to the source. So if source has a mistake, translation should also have that mistake. So that's easy to solve. But when you are talking about source, and if there is a mistake, you don't know whether that mistake was intended by the user just like that, or if, let's say, we are in a customer support setting, and if there is a harsh sentence, whether that tone was intended by the user. So of course you can always train models that can do these kind of things. We have few models that can actually just work on one side of the translation source or target, but currently we are only focusing on the QE part, which is the translation part. But if you have any specific use case, talk to us and we can maybe come up with a solution.
yeah, and then there's a couple of questions about the score. So maybe, Amir, you can go a bit more in detail to explain how the score is based on the criteria used to give the number that users see.
Yeah, so the score is basically collaborated to be a binary signal, where we are trying to make sure that as few false positives are there. So when I say false positive, that means that something that is a bad translation, but model says that it's good. So we are trying to make sure that we can reduce as much as false positive as possible. So the idea is that if we define a threshold, for example, 0.9, then the model can understand that anything below that is a bad translation, and anything above that is a good translation. And when we are doing customization, we can also create multiple categories that, okay, 0.8 to 0.9 is something that has minor errors, 0.9 to 1 is good translations, 0.7 to 8 is have some major mistakes, something like that. But mainly it's the score is based on context similarity, so the meaning should be preserved. And then depending on our labeling scheme for a particular domain or particular language pair or particular client needs, we can adjust the labeling scheme, and that usually represent in the outcome. So we have seen a lot of the time that different companies or different clients have very different expectation of the quality. So something that is a major mistake for one client is not a major mistake for other client. But in our generic models, the main idea is that it can serve as a binary signal for good versus bad. But we don't really classify if something is bad, how bad it is. Of course, if the score is very low, you can see that, okay, the meaning is completely not preserved. But if there is a big major error, multiple major errors, can you identify that just by score? So it is not like MQM at the moment.
Thanks. And there's another question about scores and the correlation with human judgment.
Yeah, so that again depends on number of factors. What is the language pair? What is the domain? What is the style of translation? What we have publish on our website is basically a confidence index for different language pairs for a particular test set. So you can go there and see and verify based on that whether for your content that threshold is valid or not. What we always recommend to our clients that try to test the generic model, see whether it's working for your scenario. If it's not, then you can always talk to us to do customization, and customization can always benefit from the content that you already have, the kind of terminology you have, the kind of style you are using for translation, and that can work very well with your content.
Yeah. There's a question about costs involved in using the Epic integration in Crowdin. I think the best would be then, I mean, there's different pricing options for Epic. They're all easily findable on our website. We have either usage-based pricing or let's say pre-set bundles that you can buy. You can find all the information on the website. That also reflects, I guess, for the use of Crowdin. I don't know if Yurik, you want to add something about that.
Yes, there are quite some price indications for the platform, of course, available on the website, and there are no additional costs associated with using the TAUS Epic integration in Crowdin.
Yep. I think we covered most of, or actually all the questions, because a few were on the same topic. Is there still something you felt like you wanted to give more details on? I think I'm just going through the questions again to see if I missed anything. Oh, well, integrations, because there's a few people asking if Epic will be also available in other tools. We are, of course, working on more integrations. There's one with Phrase being worked on at the moment, and with Trados. So there's different. We are integrating both with orchestration platforms and TMSs, and we already have other existing integrations, of course. So there's a selection of options that are available already. But of course, depending on the level of interest and the client's request, we can try to get into more tools.
Mhm.
Let me see. No, I think that was, the last topic that we hadn't covered yet. So yeah, we are just a couple of minutes before the end of the webinar. But yeah, I don't know. Amir, Yurik, a last word from your side?
Yeah, I think keep looking at the updates, keep following what is coming out. So we are working hard to introduce new features. Also, as many of you were asking about more context and more automation, better scoring. So we are working towards that. We are also trying to improve our generic models. So every time when we see there is improvement, we release a new model, we update about that to the whole community and especially to the clients. So you can follow that. And of course, with the integrations like with Crowdin, whenever we are coming up with some new features, we then talk to them to add that to their platform. So that will going to happen with Crowdin as well. With everything that I discussed will be available soon.
Yeah, for me, just a final thank you to the Crowdin team, the TAUS team, and of course, our audience today.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, everybody. It was great to see also the nice comments you sent us and the questions that were really interesting. So glad you found it interesting. Of course, the recording will follow tomorrow, most likely already. so you will be able to consume the content also later at your ease. And of course, you can just contact TAUS and Crowdin directly for any follow-up question, or if there was anything that we could not go in detail enough in the webinar. So thanks everybody, and have a nice rest of the evening or day, wherever you are.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.